Thank you very much for coming here. I have a little short video for you to get you into the mood of Hong Kong. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. I'm going to talk to you about Hong Kong companies and the use for businessmen, entrepreneurs, and their advantages. Let's see. Now, to give you an idea of what I'm going to talk about and to let you follow my flow of thoughts, here is the agenda. First, I'm going to introduce our company very briefly. Then I'm going to say why Hong Kong is so attractive. Then a few words about Hong Kong companies and what makes them special. How do they differ from other companies in other parts of the world? Then the use for wealth managers and structures and business activities in China, in case somebody wants to use Hong Kong companies for their activities in China. And in the end, a question and answer game. Now, something that I came across during this conference, and I wasn't quite made aware of the situation because I was asked to speak about wealth management, is really the fact that Israel is really a hub or a center for startup companies. And I really haven't focused my speech on that, but we can discuss the benefits and the advantages for Israeli startups in Hong Kong at the end or in the question and answer session. Here, our company, CHEURAM Consulting Group, is a company based in Hong Kong. We're all lawyers. All the partners are lawyers. We have an office in Hong Kong, obviously. We have a partner with the largest law firm in Central America, Pacheco Cotto in Costa Rica, which again has offices in Switzerland and New Zealand. We have offices in Hong Kong, Beijing, Shanghai, San Jose, Costa Rica, of course, Hamburg, where I'm from, and Monaco. Our offices in Beijing are staffed by lawyers and law professors, in the case of Shanghai, so we can provide domestic Chinese law advice to our foreign clients. And we basically focus on the formation and administration of companies in Hong Kong. We provide services and legal and structuring involving Hong Kong companies. We provide trust and nominee services. And we, as lawyers and business consultants, we help domestic Chinese companies invest in Europe and other parts of the world, as well as primarily Western European companies invest in China. And of course, we provide domestic legal advice in mainland China for our foreign clients. Here is a view, in case you don't know how Hong Kong looks like. There's Victoria Harbour, and it shows you in a way, it shows you the size of Hong Kong, the buildings, and the dynamics of the city. At the same time, it has a lot of very interesting and very pretty landscaping, so it is a very interesting place. Close by the water, very much similar to Singapore, of course, but as Hong Kong is really a vibrant business center. Just a few words about Hong Kong. Hong Kong was, as you probably will know, a British colony, and the the British turned over sovereignty of Hong Kong in 1997 to mainland China. So now it is a part of China. According to the British Sino Agreement, Hong Kong remains independent as far as legal, tax, and business regulations are concerned for 50 years from the date of the handover, as they call it, the transition, so until 2049. And living there and being there, I can say that it is true. I don't really see any really moves, important moves by the Chinese government to sort of undermine this. So I think everybody can rely on the fact that that will carry on and will be probably extended. Even though many people ask me, well, how safe it is, don't you think that Hong Kong in a few years will actually be taken over by the Chinese? Well, I really doubt that, and most of the professionals and the business people I'm dealing with and my colleagues deal with are sure that Hong Kong will keep its independence. It is one of the most important centers for trade and financial services, and certainly the hub for China. And that really makes Hong Kong special. It is the gateway to China. So for anybody who wants to trade or do business with mainland China, is very well advised to go to Hong Kong and use Hong Kong, because it's so much easier. You're dealing with a Western environment, specifically a Western legal environment, rather than a strongly regulated environment in mainland China. And according to the Census Bureau, there are 1,399 regional headquarters for international companies. It's not just the thousands of companies that are set up by businessmen for just a very few purposes, for just trading, but there are regional headquarters of all the major companies in Hong Kong. Now, what are the advantages? It is Asia's financial center, with a huge number of banks and financial institutions, 220 with branches, 85 representative offices of international banks, and the GDP of 16.1% of relating to the financial services is actually higher than the GDP in that area of Switzerland, which I find quite amazing. You have, of course, throughout the centuries, Hong Kong has always been a hub for trading, so you find a wealth of experience of experts in trade and finance. You find a reliable and stable legal system. There is a free flow, there's no restriction, free trade, free flow of capital, no restrictions on transferring money in and out of Hong Kong to any other nations. There are only the companies that are blocked and boycotted anyway are boycotted in Hong Kong. There's no additional restrictions. There are no currency restrictions. Actually, investments by foreign companies are very welcome. So and it's a real estate, as you have seen, you know, the picture of Hong Kong there as a result of the very high investment activities by people from all sorts and investors from all sorts of nations. So everybody can go in there and take out the company, when they sell the company or the real estate, take it out freely. It is the efficiency in product sourcing. Of course, the vicinity to China makes it possible to source products in Hong Kong and from China. Hong Kong has a large exhibition center which is used for huge trade fairs and exhibitions introducing products from China. I think it is even the largest exhibition grounds in the world and with the highest amount of exhibitions. Again, it's the close vicinity to China and to the manufacturing sites in the Pearl River Delta, and which is very easily acceptable. It takes about 50 minutes to go by subway or underground or MTR, as they call it in Hong Kong, to China, or you can go by boat, or of course you can go by car to the Shenzhen area, and then branch out into Guangzhou, into the manufacturing sites of China. There is assistance for successful market entry in China. Of course, you get a lot of assistance by the manpower in Hong Kong, with English and Cantonese being the official languages. So English being one of the official languages, in Cantonese, and in effect you have most of the population in Hong Kong speaks Mandarin. So you really have a pool of very capable, experienced people being versatile in the main languages in that region. There is a very strong international business environment. There are, you know, the international banks are, the big international law firms are, all kinds of institutions that you will find here. You have a very pro-business environment, or in institutions like the companies register that we usually deal with, or the revenue department, are very accommodating, extremely helpful. When I compare the efficiency and the friendliness to the environment in Germany, which I also deal with on a regular basis, it is almost non-comparable. Hong Kong is extremely helpful for young entrepreneurs and older entrepreneurs as well. There's a cosmopolitan spirit, there's a high frequency and high population of expats. And the expats obviously find their environment, they find good restaurants, they find other expat lawyers. So basically all nations, except we are the only law firm, South American law firm, in being active in Hong Kong. But Israeli firms, I'm not sure whether I'm sure there are lots of a number of Israeli lawyers. I don't think there is an Israeli law firm registered as a foreign law firm in Hong Kong yet. So that may be an opportunity for you to enter the market. There are some additional reasons why it is attractive to go to Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong always sort of compares itself to Singapore. I guess the two always fight for the results of service as the most liberal economy worldwide. Now, Hong Kong says they've had it for 20 years. Singapore says, well, we've had it almost as long or as long. So, in effect, they really don't differ that much, and they share the same qualities, that they are very free and liberal. Hong Kong is a free port, which means that there's no tariff, no duties in Hong Kong. Anything can be imported in and out. The only duty that is payable is for for alcohol, but only for liquor. Wine is duty free, which makes Hong Kong as the wine hub in Asia, actually almost in the world. I think the largest wine auctions are in Hong Kong. Then there's tobacco and fuel. That also the two major items that are taxed. Then, of course, well, I mentioned the Hong Kong government is very business-friendly. Foreigners can set up, own companies very freely without any restrictions. The company setup, I'm coming to that in a minute, is very easy. It will be done in about 30 minutes by foreigners, foreign shareholders, and foreign directors. The tax system is simple. The highest corporate tax rate is 16.5%. However, Hong Kong is based on the Hong Kong tax system is based on the territorial tax system, like the UK. So really, profits are only taxed if they are generated in the territory in Hong Kong itself. So, on the contrary, so if you have profits generated outside of Hong Kong, there is zero tax involved. So that's why it is extremely helpful if you have a Hong Kong company and you provide services to outside clients or outside business partners, and the business is conducted outside your Hong Kong company will not pay any taxes at all. And if they do, 16.5% is not really that high compared to other Western European countries. I don't know what it is in Israel, but I'm sure it's more than 16.5%. Now, what makes Hong Kong special, and I think that's really the main criteria, the main distinction compared to Singapore, is the close relationship with China, because Hong Kong has entered a treaty with mainland China, which is the CEPA agreement, which is like a preferential treatment. And it means that any Hong Kong produced product, 60% of content being produced in Hong Kong will be or can be imported to China duty-free. Or services by service providers in Hong Kong can be provided in China very easily and without a lot of restrictions. So for Hong Kong lawyers, accountants, professionals, but even for other businessmen, having a company, they can easily work in China, which is very attractive because of, well, I don't have to explain the size of the market and the 1.5 million residents and the potential for all kinds of services and goods. So bear that in mind if you are thinking of venturing out to China. Well, Hong Kong may be a good place for you to do that. Excuse me? Excuse me, 5 billion? That's correct. I'm sorry about that. 1.5 million, that's right. All right, the legal system I pointed out is it's the British system. Hong Kong uses the British system. Precedences of that you find in the UK are used in Hong Kong. The judges are often, at least the High Court there, they're British. Queen's councils, etc., and many of the law firms are British, but you find a very safe legal environment, the same as you would do if you were doing business in the UK, and that has that's part of the Sino-British treaty, and that will stay for another 40 years approximately. So the tax jurisdiction, I mentioned the territorial tax system. So the only income source that is generated in Hong Kong, and what a company does as part of the tax return, which is a little bit more difficult, or that has one asset that all the accounts have to be audited in Hong Kong. But that is not a major obstacle, but they have to be audited, and as part of the tax return, the company has to file for an offshore exemption. And the revenue department oftentimes asks, well, to prove why you think your office, why you claim your office, your profits were generated outside of Hong Kong. Could you give us minutes of meetings, etc., provide some contracts, etc., Because sometimes, I mean, I had clients who said, yes, we're dealing between Germany and Italy or something, and we set up a Hong Kong company for special purposes. Now we don't need to keep any bookkeeping. We don't have to have any bookkeeping because we don't pay taxes. Well, that's not quite true, because even those companies not carrying on business in Hong Kong still have to be file tax returns and have an audit for their tax return. There's no capital gains tax in Hong Kong, and the corporate tax, as I said, unless they have the exemption of 0%, which many companies and most of our clients try to achieve, pay a highest rate of 16.5%. Personal income tax is 17%. There's no withholding. There's no VAT in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong has developed an ever-growing network of double tax treaties. Unfortunately, there's none in effect with Israel yet. As far as I understand, it's being negotiated, and Israel and Hong Kong have finished the first round of the negotiations, aiming to finalize them. There's no estate duty, so which is interesting for many investors who several years ago and invested in real estate. And real estate, now of course it's highly priced. Probably it has almost reached the peak, or it has a peak, but if you had invested several years ago, the profits would have been tremendous. So the heirs of those clever and smart investors, timely investors, they don't pay any estate duty on the estates, or if they move to Hong Kong, which is fairly easy as a business person. If you have your residence in Hong Kong, no estate duties. I mentioned customs duty, basically no duty except tobacco, liquor, and fuel. Now, coming back to the Hong Kong companies, it's pretty similar to UK companies. In Hong Kong, they're called private limited companies. They're easy to set up. They can be set up by foreigners. The shareholders can be corporate shareholders or personal shareholders. There are no restrictions to that. The same goes for directors. However, every company that has to have one natural person as a director. Until March of last year, it was possible to have corporate directors, and they did away with that. So one person, one natural person is, the company needs one natural person who doesn't have to live in Hong Kong. So it is very easy. And then the company has, like in the UK, has to have a secretary, which must be a Hong Kong entity or a person, and a registered office. Now, we commonly provide those services as part of a package when we set up companies for our foreign clients. The administration is very easy. Now, I mentioned the company has to have a registered office. The books are to be kept in a registered office, so that's pretty much the same as it is in all sort of Anglo companies all over the world. Once a year, every company needs to file an annual return with the company's register, which is a formal process and which is about $20 US fee involved. It's basically an update on who the directors are, who the shareholders are, etc. That's very easy. And of course, the company needs to file annual accounts and an annual tax return. You look probably at costs for a Hong Kong company of running costs, or just for the update of the company, the tax return, etc., of about $1,500 US in annual maintenance. The duties of the director, the director runs the company. The secretary is like in the UK, so it's not the personal secretary, the boss's secretary or something. It is there as an entity or a person that keeps the books of the company. The registered office is required. There's no minimum, I say no minimum capital requirement. Where there is, the minimum is $1 1 Hong Kong dollar, which is about 10 cents in US dollars. We set up companies with a capital of 10,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is about 8,000 euros, which must be paid in. A few months ago they started the law which requires that the capital must be paid in Hong Kong. So, in summary, Hong Kong is a big center, financial center in Asia. It is actually provides a very good infrastructure. It's a very easy, expeditious formation process, and a very safe legal system, and a pro-commerce tax system. What can you use Hong Kong companies? Well, obviously you can use them for if you carry on businesses in Hong Kong. It is a good vehicle for tax structuring, which we do quite a lot, and for asset protection, keep your money in Hong Kong. Well, I must say the company's register is transparent. You can check it online. You need to pay like $2 US or $5 US, depending on the amount of data that you want to look at. But you cannot hide, and but of course you can use corporate vehicles to be registered in the register. The only person who can really sort of see in the register is the director, who is a natural person. So it is used for asset purchases and of course for trading with China. I can't in there have another section here, but we can, I don't really know whether you're really interested in going to China and trading to China. Perhaps we can defer that. And I should mention that the two major issues which I'm often asked by clients, potential clients, is banking. How easy is it to open a bank account in Hong Kong? And there are all kinds of myths around opening bank accounts in Hong Kong. Some people say, well, it's no longer possible and it is very difficult. Well, it really, in de facto, was not possible starting this year in about February, when most banks closed down, and the two major banks in Hong Kong, HSBC and Standard Chartered, really shut down to foreign-owned Hong Kong companies because they thought it is too much of a risk, and they didn't want to handle it, don't want to have the hassle. And then several European chambers of commerce, I'm not sure about the US or Canadian Chamber of Commerce, whether they participated, but the European Chambers of Commerce sent questionnaires to their members, and we all said, well, this is unbelievable, and it really affects the importance of Hong Kong as a financial center for Asia. So then the financial authorities in Hong Kong really pushed the banks to open up and accept clients, and of course do the regular due diligence, but at least once you comply with them, to have a bank account again. And we work with 3 or 4 banks who accommodate clients even if the beneficial owners, or if they use BVI or Cayman Islands or Marshall Island. Many Chinese people use Marshall Islands as their place to do business, so that is possible. And the other thing is, in which I didn't include in my presentation, but I'm aware of the situation that Hong Kong has become a very interesting place for startup companies. They have a special dedicated program called Start Me Up Hong Kong, which provides very beneficial help, cost-free, to companies who want to use Hong Kong as a startup, as a base for their startup companies. And of course, where you have the wealth of Chinese people who help you with their qualification in the digital business. So it is very attractive, and you have the big Chinese market, and you have to be aware of a situation that if you want to enter the Chinese market, you have to do your whole marketing, your digital marketing, the Chinese way. In China, Google is only accessible in a very limited sense, and they have a whole parallel world in China with Baidu as the main search engine. They have Sina, Weibo, and similar, like Twitter relation, and the Chinese are very attracted to and do all their purchasing and all their business on the internet. So in order to participate in that, you will have to have your company geared to that. And Hong Kong is a good base because you have young people who speak Chinese, who are familiar with this parallel world of internet. So that really concludes my presentation on Hong Kong, and I invite your questions, and I'll be available for the rest of the day, so please ask me or contact me, and then I'll be happy to answer your questions and help you out if you plan to go to Hong Kong. Thank you very much.